wandering through West Africa. And I ended up settling down in a small village community in Ghana. And it was here that I was able to get this genuine glimpse of what everyday life was like for this community. And something that amazed me right off the bat was just how genuinely happy everybody was. You know, they didn't have material possessions, but they were so filled with joy, and you know, the streets were full of smiling faces everywhere I went. And it was just, I was just so impressed with this genuine happiness that they had, even though they didn't have very much. I became very intrigued with the education system there, because it seemed like there were just children everywhere. You know, they were sort of playing or roaming or working, but they weren't in school. And I couldn't help but wonder, you know, what was preventing them from getting an education? What were some of the obstacles standing in their way? And something that struck me right away was simple. It was just the distance between home and school. And, you know, in a community where the main mode of transportation is walking, that could pose a great problem. You know, the children would need to walk at least a mile, if not much further, in order to get to school. Not only that, but in this particular community and much of the developing world, shoes are a luxury. And, you know, the majority of the population didn't have shoes. So I tried to imagine myself growing up in this village, and, you know, I just tried to think back, and I would encourage you to do the same. You know, think about how you got to school today. And try and imagine yourself walking barefoot. And I would just ask myself, you know, would I get an education if that was my daily routine, if I had to do that every day? Would I make it to school? You know, I like to think that I have enough dedication that I would, but I really don't know. Another thing that I noticed right away was a lack of simple resources. Pens, pencils, paper, books, electricity. You know, if you don't have electricity in your home, where do you go if you want to
Kendall,
read a book when the sun goes down? So, you know, it's dark. I mean, you can't do, once the sun sets, you can't begin to study. If a student had to write a report, the nearest library was an all-day walk to the next town. I began visiting schools in the area, and at the primary school, I was able to talk to the principal and ask him, you know, what are some of the obstacles preventing students from attending class? And something he told me has always stuck with me, and it was simple. It was just that 6 months out of the year it rains, and 6 months out of the year it's dry. So in the rainy season, the crops are plentiful and food is plentiful. In the dry season, the crops die and the food is not so plentiful. And inevitably, towards the end of the dry season, there are a few months out of the year where there simply is not enough food to go around. Attendance in class drops dramatically because the students are too hungry to get there. So again, I'd like you to imagine, you know, your way to school today. How did you get to Prez? Did you walk here? Did you do it barefoot? And would you do it if you were hungry? You know, despite some of these obstacles, the classrooms were overflowing. There was 70 kids in the 3rd grade class. You know, students sitting 3 or 4 to a desk, or, you know, not in a desk at all, sitting on the floor because there weren't enough desks. And as I started to learn more about education, what I found were children with this deep inner desire to learn. And I became very impressed with the great lengths that they would go to and the obstacles that they would overcome just to receive this basic education. something that was given to me freely and openly, they had to really, really work for it. I began working with some of the community leaders in that village, and we started the nonprofit, the Malvo Project, to make education accessible, we built a library in that community. We started a hot lunch program so that any student who came to school would not leave hungry. And my hope for all of us...
Cynthia Morton, please report to the ASD office. Thank you.
My hope for all of us is that we use these gifts and these blessings that we've been given because we happen to be born in the United States, which is a country so wealthy. And, we have access to so much more than many other countries. And that we use these things that sort of have been handed to us, like a basic education, to do good work in the world and to be better people and to, just give when we can. And I really believe that it is our responsibility as, as community members who have so much to help those who don't. So, as a part of the mission drive, you guys really are you're sponsoring missions in Guatemala, and I think that, it's important to get involved wherever you can and wherever you feel drawn to. So that's what I have to say. If you're interested in learning more about my nonprofit or any other, I really suggest that you pursue that because it is important to give back